All right. Welcome, everybody. We do have a quorum. Let's see who, oh. There was someone else on a minute ago that I didn't know. But they seem to be gone. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Thanks. That may have been me because I switched between this and my old boss's account, so it may have shown up as her.
Okay,
So I've
yeah,
renamed
there was
myself as me.
Somebody I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Anybody's welcome anyway. So anyway, let's get right to it. And we still have I don't know, did you vote on the minutes of 12/14 on January 11th?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, fine. So then let's vote on the minutes of January 11th. Let's first of all see if there's any amendments to any changes. Any comments about the minutes for January 11th?
Nope.
None?
I thought they were very simple.
Okay, and thank you for running the meeting, Mary Ann. So with that, then I'll need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move.
Okay, so Deidre has moved. A second? There's a-
Marianne offered.
All right, okay. Well, we have a tie, Adam or Mary Ann. Marissa can have a choice.
I already wrote Marianne in, so.
Okay, fine. All right, for those of you who do not know, I was successful in finding a candidate who has submitted their application to be on the committee. They'll be on the February 15th Select Board meeting for appointment. Connie Ashaw, I don't know if you all are familiar with Connie. Anyway, she's involved in the diversity group in town, and is one of the people who run the Mothers Walk for Cancer. So she's been in town a long time, and she is active in the town and has a lot of connections. So I think she'll be a great addition to the committee to keep the work moving. So I thought she might even join us tonight, but apparently she's not going to make it. Anyway, I expect she'll be fully appointed and be through her ethics exam and sign her papers for the next meeting. So as you know, I am stepping down from the committee at the end of March. Since I was elected unanimously to be president, to be chair again, I'll stick out. I'll stay on through the March meeting as well. So I understand that Marissa, I guess you were voted as secretary again, or you accepted being secretary again? But
That's right, yeah.
nobody stepped up for vice chair, which is
That
something.
is true.
Yeah, well, it's something we should have, because not everybody is going to be able to make the meetings as I demonstrated every week. So it's important that we have a vice chair to run the meeting. So any volunteers? No?
There was a conversation about whether you could have a co-chair, because I think the main reason that a lot of people are hesitant to put themselves forward for either chair or vice chair is because of just literally the amount of work, and typically people on this committee are also committed elsewhere. So I wondered whether, I don't know if there are bylaws saying that you can or can't have a co-chair that runs it together.
No, there's no. This isn't a bylaw. This isn't a bylaw committee.
Okay. So we could have two people co-chair it, and then we wouldn't need a vice chair. We just have two.
You can meet you can meet once a quarter, every other month.
Okay.
You can select whatever time you want to meet. My mode was monthly meetings, yada, yada, to stay, what we're about is very slow moving.
Okay.
So, it's, you you can have any mode that works for you. You can have co-chairs, whatever. But you need to have someone to back up in case somebody can't make it. Now, in all committees, only the chair can speak for the committee publicly. Anybody can say anything they want to anybody, but you cannot represent the committee in public other than through the chairman. Okay.
Assume
So
if you have
you
two
can't take
chairs.
you can't take positions that you can't go out and proselytize something. Even if the committee has voted for it, the single spokesman has to be the chair, or things get ugly.
Yeah, but if there were two people that were co-chairing it and therefore two people that were leading it, they both would, and everything would be unanimously voted on. They wouldn't be speaking for anything that hadn't been discussed previously.
Yeah,
Anyway.
if there's co-chairs, then they're both empowered to speak for the committee.
Awesome.
So those are the basic ground rules. The format, Marissa knows the format that the town clerk needs the information, the agenda and the minutes in. And the format, you can see the tag on the agenda. You can see the file name on the agenda and how it's set up. It's cohesive open space and rec committee with the date in a format that's underscored, which is funny, but that's the way they want it. And you always send the agenda to the town clerk and the assistant town clerk. That's Beth Anderson and Kim Roy is presently is the town clerk. I guess there'll be a permanent person appointed at some point. And Beth Anderson is the assistant. And you send it to both of them so that if one of them's out, you don't miss a posting. And you have to have it 48 hours. Your agenda has to be into the town clerk's office so that it can be posted for 48 hours. So you need a 72-hour window. You need to send it with 2 days for it to be posted. And again, you should put Beth Anderson and Kim Roy on it so that, and I've had meetings that were lost because they never got posted because one of them was out. All right, so you always send it to both for whoever takes the reins. And that's about it. That's the mechanics of it. Obviously, you set the agenda up. I use a pretty standard format here, but input from all the members is wanted and should be reflected in the agenda. So, it shouldn't be a one-person show or two-person show. The members should contribute to the content of the agenda. Okay. And it's a 3-year appointment from when you're appointed. I guess whoever replaces me will have the balance of my term. I think I have a year to go or something, someplace in there. And I will, I've already worked out with the town manager that I will have access to the town Zoom account and like that, so that I can continue to manage the Earth Day event to completion. Okay, even though I'll be officially not on the committee as of April 1st, they'll still give me rights to manage it to the end since I'm halfway there already. Okay, that's all the news that's fit to print. So I told you about Connie joining. So let's just run down what we have going on for the liaison reports, okay? So Deidre, anything happening in the grant area?
Well, I spoke to Katie Dugan because we had, I think part of what if we're looking at grants, we're also looking at what sort of open space we have in town, depending on what we're going to focus on.
Yeah, Brianna, I think I mentioned before that Brianna is also involved in that, creating a master
Yeah,
worksheet where, all of the grants can be tracked.
yeah, yeah. But
So
in terms of just,
you want to connect with her as well.
yeah, we were hoping to have Katie come to our next open space meet. Well, not this one, the one in March. She's planning to attend to review all the data that they've collected, because there's a lot of very convoluted data and it was hard to sort of process. So I'm going to meet with her actually tomorrow. I think, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to make it, Peter, but I think we're meeting at 12:30 tomorrow.
Is that the inventory? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing that tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. And then once we get a sense of what sort of open space is available, we can discuss potential grants around open space.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. By the way, the culvert in Wheelwright Park is overflowing across the main trail. It's
Yes.
a sheet of ice.
My son fell in it the other day, actually.
Mhm.
So yeah, my son fell into it the other day. I was up
Did he
to
really?
his thighs in water. So yeah, did see that.
It-
He was happy.
No broken bones, no harm.
Oh no, it was all in fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that could use some
Yeah,
attention.
so, the brook overflows regularly, and there's another area further way up on the trail, actually, but only about a couple hundred yards from Forest Ave, that there's an old, just stone culvert that was somebody made, way back when.
Yeah,
That's collapsed, and so it's creates a mud hole
yeah.
on the
We-
trail. So
We can
there's
certainly.
a couple of places that we could use an updated culvert in Wheelwright.
I think we're just trying to prioritize which was most impactful in terms of grants.
Yeah, the committee has to,
But yeah,
again, just look at the projects that they want to do and find a grant to fit it and then chase it. Find out what the requirements are, and
yes,
the timing is everything,
yeah, definitely.
Typically you find out about a grant and it's due tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're pretty difficult to, there's a lot of work that has to be done to actually complete a grant.
Yes.
I'm not a grant writer, but I've done a few. So,
Okay.
all right, well, thank you. Anything else on that?
We haven't met since our last meeting with anything new. That was pretty much the next step was talking to Katie Dugan about open space.
Yeah, as I said, Connie is going to join for sure. And I think I have another gentleman who is, at least I talked to him today, and he said he was going to put in his application. So you should be up to a full 9 members, after I sign off. And whoever is in charge should, get assignments to the members for the different subcommittees that we have.
Yeah.
Now, I monitor the Elm Street working group. I monitor the harbor I'm the liaison for the harbor, and also the master plan working group for the bylaws. So I think Connie Afshaw will pick up the Elm Street working group liaison because she's interested in it and she knows what's going on in it. We had a conversation about it. She actually knows more about it than I do. So I think she'll be great to step into that, but we'll need someone to cover, you'll need somebody to cover the harbor, which is doing climate resiliency right now. I attended that Zoom presentation, which was excellent. It was really well done. Tom Bell is a superstar scientist, and he did a great job. And there was another guy from Provincetown who no, he's not from Provincetown, but he someplace down the Cape, who's another climatologist who's outstanding. Anyway, it was a great presentation, but somebody needs to be liaison to that group. And then, of course, the bylaw group, which is a fair amount of work. So, because we are rewriting the not all of the bylaws, but we're recommending changes to several bylaws, zoning bylaws particularly. And we are currently interviewing. Just the RFP went out again today, I think. We sent out an RFP for a consultant to help with the communication to the town of why and what we're doing as with changes to the bylaws. And also the consultant will be advising on how to reorganize the bylaws to simplify them for the public to understand. Not the content of the bylaw, but just the how should it be organized for ease of use, okay? So that RFP went out, and we only had one person bid on or participate in the first round. So they sent it out again with another 2 weeks to try and see if anyone else wants to bid on the job. So that's where we are with that. But it's a very, that's just the core of how municipal governments work, is by the zoning bylaws. You know, property rights are everything, are the hottest button in any town. And that's what it's all about. As you know, we had 3 proposals at town meeting for bylaw changes, definitions, and 2 others, and only 1 passed. So it's an interesting area. So, but if at all possible, the committee should make sure that somebody works with Katie Dugan. Katie Dugan is the chairman pro temp of the working group, the bylaw working group. So that said, why don't we just keep on going down the liaisons here. I have been working with Chris to get the tree management policy to the select board. And he is going to attend the March 8th meeting with the final draft to go over with us before he presents to the select board. So I think we're at the touchdown area. We're in the red zone for that, getting that through. And I'd like to get that through, while I'm still on watch here.
Peter, I reached out to Andy Swanson. He's the tree warden.
Yes.
Just inquiring about any sort of information or data they have regarding all the trees that have been lost over the past since that nor'easter back in November.
Yeah, no, I talked to Chris about that too.
Okay. Did he give you, because Andy didn't get back to, he was.
Well, what he said was, the tree management policy is at the top of the non-essential list. They're
Okay.
still working through, recovery from the storm and all that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he is gonna, come to our meeting next month.
Okay.
And finish, that'll be the finish line, and he'll present to the select board. I expect the select board will approve it.
Okay.
It's just a matter of getting it to them. And I think we're there.
Great.
Okay, and as far as the trees, you should stay on that. He said, yes, we're planning to get a plan together.
Yeah.
So they can't act on it that quickly, but I made a point of it. He's aware of it.
Yeah. I feel
And
like
it should be followed up on.
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure that that's a clear point on the agendas for follow-up, because a lot of trees came down.
A lot
everywhere.
of trees came down, and what's the plan for replacing, if at
Yeah.
all, and the
Yeah,
next.
for Earth Day, the town manager wants to plant chestnut trees.
Hmm.
Well, chestnut trees are great, but they need a lot of area. They need a lot of space. They're big giant canopies, and they're dirty. They drop,
They-
they drop the chestnut
Yeah.
things, you know, and all that.
They're great fun. Kids will love it, and they're beautiful in blue.
Kids
Yeah,
love it,
pretty.
but people walking on the sidewalks don't like it.
Yeah, they get it.
So, you know, I mean, so it has to be
Better
someplace.
something than nothing, though.
Well, it has to be someplace, you know, chestnut trees have to be someplace where people don't mind them falling on the ground.
Oh, we just have to. Well, I don't know whether conkers translates, but do you put chestnuts? You kind of like soak them in vinegar, stick them on string, and then have fights
Oh,
when
yeah.
they come in. We just have to have
I-
a conker festival.
I've
on the
never
ground.
done that. That
Take it
sounds
where
fun,
it's at.
though.
In my neighborhood, when I was a kid, in Mr. Hurley's yard was a giant chestnut tree, and every kid in the neighborhood scrambled over to get their chestnuts when they started to drop. So I had a 15 killer once
Yeah.
upon
You
a
gotta, like,
time.
soak them in vinegar, drill through them. It's, I mean, health and
Go
safety
through them,
will hate
that's
it,
right.
but Ham Fahey will be like, ah! But it would be great fun.
You'd be ready
I
to
would love
smash
that.
your opponent's chestnut. Yeah, it's great fun. But you know,
Marianne.
they do drop a lot of material on the ground, so you know you can't really have them by a sidewalk. So the question is finding a spot. If the chestnut trees don't work out, they'll definitely plant something else. Last year for Arbor Day, which is the week after a few days after the Earth Day, they planted 2 elm trees in town. One in the common and one right in Wheelwright, right near the road, and they're doing well. So you know, planting trees is just the most important thing that we can do as a community. And I mean, they are nature's scrub brush to take carbon out of the air.
Yep.
And it's the most efficient mode. There's no machine that'll ever duplicate it. So
This is Marianne. I just was curious if the chestnut tree is on the approved list from the Conservation Commission. I can't recall if it's not, but I would be curious if we could just cross-check.
I don't know.
Make sure.
He's the town manager, and you know it'll be his nickel. I mean, they're doing it, not me. So you know, I don't know. I don't know how they. I'm sure the tree warden will know what's allowed and what's not, and advise Chris.
Right.
So I think that's. You know,
I think
that's-
Eric was going to write a support from our committee just to move Christine here along. Maybe we don't need that anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I wouldn't tip the boat at this point, rock the boat at this point. He's committed to be at our meeting at our next meeting to finalize everything, or tell us what the final draft is. And again, the language in the policy has been hammered out with Brian Joyce and Tom Callahan and I, when Tom was on the committee, for several go-arounds. And, you know, we're happy with the language, at least the language. And the last thing was, what's the enforcement mechanism? That was the stumbling point, and apparently they've come to some agreement on what they're going to do. So I think we'll be home, and I would recommend that, you know, we don't send a letter to the select board at this point. If he doesn't show up, then that's a different story, but I expect he will. He owes me a lot, so. Anyway. So that's that. You got a moment to talk about CPC, Marianne?
Yes, I'm just going to go in a second.
I got your thing that you sent, but since you're on the call
Sure.
still.
Sure. CPC, we met at the very end of January, and we were reviewing possible submissions that will be coming in the next year. There were nothing that was presented to us, but the Affordable Housing Commission did come and discuss that they will be needing a replacement windows and doors for the upcoming year. They'll probably need a total of $800,000, but they would come to us for only $100,000, and that would be replace all the doors and windows that I guess
Elm Street.
we're not. Yes,
At
in Elm Street
at the
that we're
Elm
not
Street
really-
complex. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's,
I can't
that's
remember-
a usual, that's a pretty usual item for us. You know, they come regularly for upgrades to the facility there.
Yes,
Because the
and they
state, the
said that
state really
decks
doesn't,
were rotting.
you know, the state manages that, but they don't provide any money.
Yes, and they would be seeking money from the state as well, but just
Yeah.
from us, it would be 100,000 for the CPC.
Right.
The second was the Conservation Trust has just purchased a new property on Forest Ave. And I think it was
Mhm.
across the street from the outlet from Wheelwright Park.
Yeah, where the
somewhere in
trailhead
that-
is on that street, yeah.
Yes, and they didn't indicate what their plans were, but that they would be probably coming before us for assistance, probably with clearing or making trails. That would be, but they don't have a name for it as of yet or anything. So that was kind of
Do you
very
know how
vague.
big, do you know how big it is?
No, I don't know that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think there was a pork chop.
Probably,
So
it's
it-
probably behind the
probably-
housing. There's there's a swampy area behind the housing. You know,
Yeah, it's
heading
probably one of
toward
the pork chops.
heading toward the golf course. There's a lot of swamp area back there. I wonder if they bought that.
I don't know. They gave us, can't remember what I wrote down for a street address, if I sent you a street address or not.
Mhm.
But
Before or
that was,
60?
so we'll meet again, I guess. We don't meet very regularly, so probably another 2 or 3 months we'll probably meet again before the spring.
Yeah, that's my understanding of how your committee operates. It's periodic when you have
Yeah,
things, when you have things to
sure.
talk about.
Did I say 64 Forest Ave? I think that's what it
64.
was.
Yeah.
What it was.
Yeah, 64 Forest Ave, okay.
I haven't
So
looked up what that was.
That may be just an open lot. I don't know.
Yeah, there are a lot of lots over there that, well, a lot of people buy like 5 and 6 acres over there on Forest Ave in the back. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I have to jump off this call and get on to the other
Okay.
call, but
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks
And
for.
I just
writing
wanted
in.
to get that, Peter will be missed, and he's done a fantastic job as a great leader. So, but I have to
Thank you.
move on.
Thank you. I won't be
Peter.
dead, by the way. You know, you can always call me if you want my comments on anything.
We will
Oh.
always welcome.
Thank
Peter,
you.
it looks like a
Bye.
4.43 wooded lot, 4.43 acre wooded lot.
No, well, that's good size. That's
Yeah.
good. That's a good size. Okay, the Harbor Committee, again, I did go to right now, the Harbor Committee is really working on the climate resiliency. Did anyone attend that presentation? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
It was really startling to see that even with a 1 foot surge, the town is really at risk right at the cove where the new condos are being built. I've always thought that was a fool's errand there anyway, but it's built. I mean, it's approved and it's being built. But the water would come in right there, go down Elm Street and go right through the meadow there and flood right down to Cushing Ave, right down to Elms Meadow here, right at the bottom of Pond Street, literally, right, right. I live right on the corner of Pond Street. And the flooding would be, in a 2 foot would be as much as 5 feet all the way down Elm Street and into the town, for those who haven't seen it. And, it's, I think it's 15.4 was the no-name storm or one of the big ones. And they expect that it'll be, a couple of feet over that for a tide.
I think what hit me, Peter, you're absolutely right, was that if the big storm in October had been 10 days later, we would have
Yeah.
been half a foot over that big storm.
Yeah, if it
because
had been,
the king
if it
tide
had been
would
on the
have
high
coincided
tide,
with the storm.
yeah, if it had been on the high moon tide, the king tide,
Half of the town would have been underwater. Like the
we
water would
would
have
have
gone
been
down to the
split.
music circus.
It's really astounding. It's up on
Very.
the Coastal Research website, if you want to see it. You know, they have the webinar up on their website.
Yeah.
It's only about a half an hour presentation, but it was outstanding. It was a really eye opener. Mother Nature is coming to get us.
I think that's the inevitable, unfortunately, and it's great that the town is focusing on resilience. I had to jump off at questions, and I think there were a few points in there where it's like, well, this isn't necessarily just about resilience. It's about how do we green our infrastructure to combat this in the first place. That's like, let's not just like give this pills, if you like a prescription from the doctor to cure us. We need to prevent it in the first place.
Yeah, we need to get going. I mean, you got to stop talking and do. Along that line, I don't know if any of you noticed it, an article in the Boston Globe on Sunday about the ISO, which is the manager of the New England grid, all the New England states. They manage the power grid. You know, they don't produce the power, but they manage it and, you know, ship it here, ship it there, say we need more capacity, we need less capacity. They're out in Chicopee. They passed a rule that would effectively prevent renewable providers from bidding on contracts for the next 2 years, solely to protect the oil and gas industry, because the ISO felt that they had to guarantee resiliency for the grid, which I called a couple of politicians and told them what I thought about that, which is that's crap. The renewable energy in Massachusetts is only about 1%. If it doubled, it would be 2%. And it wouldn't prevent fossil fuel energy producers from, you know, threaten them in any way, shape, or form. So this is just kowtowing to the fossil fuel industry, as far as I'm concerned, and delays right at a critical point in our lives, stopping or at least getting started to increase our resiliency and, you know, and remove carbon from the atmosphere, but any way we can. And so preventing the renewable energy providers from being economically viable for the next 2 years just delays that process. And I thought it was a horrible decision. Just my opinion, but
I couldn't agree more. I think that's short-sighted, and given all the headlines, all the stuff, all the things we're actually physically seeing with the planet burning.
Renewable, you know, we're not Arizona where the sun shines all day. You know,
but it's also like it's proven that it wasn't. I mean, Texas didn't lose all their power just because of the renewables, which was the headlines that were kind of giving. This isn't kind of going to be what's going to happen here.
That was just politics.
Well, and this is rich, as you say, it's rich lobbyists and oil people wanting to like protect it and bullying people into doing what they need to do. Is the decision done? Is there anything?
No, it's done.
So there's no changing it for 8 months.
Not for 2 years. They made a rule that price thing, but it prevents.
Does that impact our? I know the town was going for alternative energy and trying to do the big opt out of sustainable energy tariffs for the town, and I forget where that got to. I think it may have been about to go to vote when the pandemic hit. Does that impact that at all? And the town's doing an individual basis?
No. Not on an individual, but this is providing power to the grid specifically. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if like
having a contract to provide X amount of power to the grid at all. It's all about, you know, reliability during a storm, and when they start losing power.
I guess I'm just trying to think of ways that we as a town or as individuals can fight against that. And if one of those ways is to come together as a town and have a renewable tariff. We
can work with the alternative energy committee.
Right now? Isn't it the AAC doing that right now? Didn't they have like solar panels? They were trying to, I just read in the paper that there's this whole push to have our town backup power with solar panels, and it's going to cost, it's like $8 million and then another like $30 million in the next 10 years. But it sounds like they have everything set up in terms of what it's going to look like, and we just need some town support. Isn't that?
The AEC, the committee should stay close to what they're doing, because, it's all about the
Could we
environment.
invite them on here to
really,
talk? Update us?
Yeah, I think
Could we
should.
invite them to come and, I'd love to hear
Oh,
more
sure.
about it, and I don't
Yeah,
hear
absolutely.
about it any other way. So it'd be great if they
Steve Winter, they'd love to come and talk.
I mean, I know Brianna, so I can send her a quick email and say, hey,
In
Brianna,
fact,
come to the call.
they're going to have a table at Earth Day, at our setup on Earth Day.
Hmm.
The Alternative Energy Committee will be there and be
Right.
telling people what they do.
Right.
But the town should go for 100% reliable, Now, the town did get, the state did approve the aggregation plan, which is where we join several other communities to have access to renewable energy. And all you have to do is, check the box and say, yeah, I want to do it. And, everybody in town can have it.
That's good.
That's
There was
great.
also something that came up, and if we're planning on, it's interesting that you mentioned about the town wanting to have backup renewable energy from solar panels, because there is this crazy bylaw that has come to light, and Marissa knows more about this than I do, but that when you can't have solar panels, the infrastructure and there's a crazy bylaw that says you can't have it more than like a foot from the edge of your roof.
That's from the public safety. That's from the fire department.
That's not in any other town, and
Well,
that makes
yeah,
it solar panels.
Cohasset's unique in many ways, and that's one of the ways that the
But it would be
fire
great to have.
department-
It
the fire
would be great to have
department-
an understanding of why they feel that that's necessary for public
Because
safety.
the fire department has to get up on the roof in the event of a fire, and they're blocked by the solar panels. That's why they have to have a path. They have to have room to work around on a roof to help put out fires.
How do they do it in other towns?
I don't know, but in our town, they convinced the board that that's what had to happen.
I just wonder whether
Yeah,
there may be
I
a
mean-
workaround.
Yeah, I had Brianna do a little digging on this because I am planning
Yeah.
to fight this. This is a personal battle, Peter. I'm trying to get solar panels on my house,
Yeah.
and the approval was denied by the town. But according to Brianna, who looked into the actual bylaw, the way that it's written is the National Electric Code. It's referencing both the National Electric Code and the National Fire Protection Association.
Well, it's
But
the
instead
fire
it-
protection route that is really driving.
Yes, but one is on top of the other one and how they're hierarchied, and so the bylaw should only be referencing one, not the other. And so I think the bylaw needs to be revised. But either
Bring
way,
it to Bring it to the
alternate
bylaw
energy
working
committee
group.
is-
It's
yeah,
trying.
it's coming. I'm determined to get this one cleaned up
Well,
because if
listen,
you're trying, you
Citizen
want people to
action
be
works,
able
so don't give up.
I'm not giving up.
Citizen action
Well,
works.
if nothing, well, Marissa's a lot of things, including very tenacious.
You know,
so
you
I
can
am
get a
like-
citizen's petition as long as you're clear on what your legal path. You can work on getting a citizen's petition into annual town meeting to make that change. I think it may be
Okay.
close to the deadline of having it in, though.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I don't know if
email,
you can
I think.
make it for this go around, but you could make it for the fall special town meetings in, December. And you only need, I think, I forget, either 10 or 100. I forget, there's 10 for one, 100 for another, I forget.
It's definitely doable.
Hopefully
That's
it's
why I'm
10.
retiring. I'm starting to forget too much, so.
We could get you 100, Marissa. Just say the word.
Okay. So yeah, that's the way to go. A citizen's petition and, bring it to town meeting and see if you can get the annual town meeting to vote for it. Citizens have power. Don't forget that. Okay, the Master Plan Implementation Committee, Marissa. anything
Yep.
going on
So, let's see. We met on the 24th, and we talked about. And Peter, you're probably tuned into this too. The Elm Street Quarter project.
Yeah, I know.
that the select board balked at the most recent proposal due to both cost and neighbor and abutter complaints or not being on board. And
Yeah,
so
it's
it
all
sounds
about,
like
it's all about sidewalk and bike lanes and that little diamond, that little triangle park at the bottom of Elm Street, right in front of the motel. They want to close that road and just have the park be there. Now, the veterans use that for the overflow for Veterans Day for flags. So, you know, I would hate to see that become just a grassy area for the condos. You know, if
Right.
people are going to do anything with that area, you should make it, it should become a parking lot to create access for the harbor, which is one of the action items in the plan, in the open space and rec plan, is access to the harbor. And what better access is a nice parking lot right at the top of the harbor, where you could park and walk all the way, either way around the harbor. But that's just my opinion.
yeah, so it sounds like my understanding is that they're taking a step back and hopefully going back in front of the select board the 15th. So
By the
next
way,
week.
I did attend a couple of their meetings, and at the last one I was at, I made sure they had neglected in the plan to identify replacement trees for all the trees that they were going to take out. And so I made sure that they are now, well, they're supposed to be now included in the plan. There'll be a plan for replacement trees on Elm Street. And that's how you do it.
Yeah, and then aside from that, we talked about the climate resiliency for the harbor committee that you just kind of went through, Peter, and then we also discussed the climate summit again a little bit in more detail.
Yeah, that's coming.
Brianna,
Yeah, that's coming. I'm going to have a climatologist. We're going to have a program either the night before Earth Day, Thursday night, or maybe Wednesday night of that week. A noted climatologist is going to talk on global climate change as part of the Earth Day thing.
nice. Yeah, it sounds like for the climate summit, Brianna she just put together a draft of all of the feedback from the surveys that were done by all of the committees, with the 6 themes that had emerged from that. And so I think the next step is to reach out to those committees and try to formulate a plan for those committees to present something at the climate summit, which as of now is scheduled for the end of April, but I'm not sure if that's going to have to get pushed out given that it's already middle of February.
Yeah, I was lobbying to see if I can get that to land around Earth Day, but
yeah,
sounds like it's going to slip out. But
yeah,
I'll still have, like I said, a global climatologist talking about global issues with climate.
yeah.
Anyway. Okay,
and yeah, lastly, I think we talked about the zoning bylaws, but you already mentioned that with the consultant, the bid that went out. So, yep, that's it.
That's the bylaw working group. That's what actually my report is. That's what we're working on. Current action items. I just want to remind everybody that this is the 4th year of the 7-year plan. We're in year 4. Year 5 is 23, year 6 is 24. And starting in year 6, you need to get a consultant, get with the town and find out how much money they're going to give you to update. You won't do a new one, but you'll update the existing open space and rec plan. Unlike the master plan, the open space and rec plan is a requirement by the state. If you're going to bid on any grant money from the state, you have to have an approved open space and rec plan. Okay, so on the long-term docket, make sure somebody makes note that starting in 24, you'll need about a year to get it done right. you'll need to start, you'll need to get a consultant to help you with the state, because there's a lot of state data that has to come into it. And essentially you update it for the past 7 years. And
How
then
do we get funding for that, Peter? Or how did we get funding for that?
through the town,
Okay,
through Chris Senior, through the select board. He knows he has to have it done, so he may put it in the budget, but the committee should remind him.
okay.
Any
idea what it
and
costs?
I've already reminded him that I've done this already and told him we're in year 4.
Okay,
And in 2 years, we're gonna need, money and, direction about what the extent of it is gonna be.
any idea what Beals and Thomas, right? That was the consultant.
That was the group, the consultant we used last time,
Any idea what
and the
they
time
charge?
before.
Okay,
They did it twice, so they're very familiar, and, you'll have to put it out for bid anyway.
okay,
But we had, I think, $30,000 for the update. And they didn't come to a lot of meetings, we had a kickoff
Yeah.
meeting.
yeah,
But they worked behind the scenes getting the state, the updated state information into the plan, which is a big part of the plan. The
Yeah.
plan's almost 300 pages, by the
yeah, it's huge.
way. It's
Yeah.
it's very big. Takes a lot of effort. And we got it done and approved. So lots go around, but you gotta put it on your long-term calendar.
Yep.
That starting in someplace around 24, you need to be moving toward doing the update and gathering the information on, demographics. It covers everything. For those of you who have read it, it covers everything. And those of you who haven't read the open space and recreation plan, you ought to go through it at least, just flip through it and see what is contained in there. It's very comprehensive.
Who ultimately outlines the goals in there? Like, is the committee involved in helping
Yes,
to
the
define those?
committee set the goals and the committee set the objectives. And one of the things that you have to do for the next plan is to detail what was done in the prior plan for the action items, what was accomplished. And we accomplished a lot, by the way. And I guess I should sit down and try to pull together a list of the things, and then you can fill in the blanks. Yeah, that's a to-do for me. Make sure that's in the minutes. Okay. That's a to-do for me to, make up a list of the things that I can recall that are accomplishments for the action items. And yes, the committee set we had 4 goals, 4 overarching goals, and then action items under each one, varying number of action items under each of the goals. But that's all committee work. Okay. Any questions on that?
No, but I think John logged off and he may be in the waiting room if you
Yeah.
might update that he was having issues with internet. So he
Okay,
might be-
let's see, John.
he might have given up on his
Yeah,
internet.
I got him.
Awesome.
I see him. Just not cut out for this management stuff, for Zoom. All right, here comes John. So that's that. Again, make sure that timeline doesn't get forgotten. We're in year 4, although on the website it says it's year 2019 to 2025. That's fiscal year. We're in fiscal year 22, which ends June 30th. Okay, so it's a little skewed, because this is fiscal 22 already, half done. And fiscal 22 ends on June 30th, and 23, 24, and then there's 25 sitting right there. So in a year and a half, you really have to start getting at it, or at least planning for it. So, this committee has a real place in the hierarchy of committees in town. We're not the most important, but this is an important committee. It has work that needs to be done, and it has a voice, and you can make it as strong as you can, and you should. Because one of the things we failed to do is we wanted to be included in the approval or the recommendation process for articles in the warrant. And what does that mean? The advisory committee, the select board, the capital committee all recommend approval of articles in the warrant. And the committee should be included in the recommendations. There should be a fourth one, open space and rec, should be included on anything that deals with open space and rec, period. If the town's buying property, or if they're, putting up new ball fields or whatever, we should have a voice in that, just like the capital committee and the advisory committee and the select board. We didn't accomplish that. Now, again, for those of you who don't know, after the committee finished the 2011 open space and rec plan that ended on 2017. They had one meeting and dissolved. They never did any of the they never did any of the action. I didn't do anything. So we had to kickstart the committee brand new again in 2016. And we got the open space and rec plan done, and the committee has been involved in town business ever since. So please don't let it fall apart. Keep it going, because it's an important committee. Anyway, open space inventory. Deidre and I are going to meet with Katie to understand the map, and more importantly, how do we keep it updated? Okay, that's the two questions. New playing fields. I did watch the Zoom presentation on playing fields. I hope you other folks did
I saw that
as
too.
well. And, it was frankly, they don't have the data. They don't have all the data. It was a nothing. They
I think
they said that, it looks like you need more fields, but
yeah, that's what I heard. I think the conclusion is we need more space. We just don't know how.
we're still gathering our data from, the rec department and this people, and those people, and that. And so there was nothing to report other than it looks like we probably need new fields. They had no recommendations on locations. They were just at the beginning of it. So it was, I think, premature. For the town, but I guess it's a good milepost to keep in mind.
We just real quick, we did have Ted and a couple of us had a follow-up meeting with Activitas last Thursday.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah, hopefully made some progress since then and identified what some of the blind spots were, and trying to work closely with them to resolve those.
Yeah. Okay.
Any good points come out of your meeting?
It's a process.
And I saw it was interesting. They did start to, I'm sure you saw it, Peter, in the deck. They've started to identify a few spots that might have potential for to be renovated and maybe expand what we're able to do with them. There is something in the I want to say in the 2024 budget. I saw something in here on the pickleball courts and the tennis courts, and there is, I want to say, I think it's been 30 years since those tennis courts have been renovated, which is
I've been in town 27 years, and they were fairly newly done when I got here. I'm a tennis player. I'm a big tennis player, so
Yeah,
I
it's
I
been a
used to
while.
use them, I used to use them a lot.
They-
And
they-
they're really run down now.
Yeah. So there is, Ted is, has identified a $750,000 cost to get those, redone. I think you just tripped me up on the physical year or the physical years, but I want to say it's in physical 2024.
Okay.
And so I know that that's, something that he's tracking on.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously a conversation about high school tennis that goes on with that. And then obviously the new
The
needs.
pickleball
courts.
striping really confuses the play,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And don't take that lightly. That's really confusing if you're playing tournament tennis against other towns.
Yeah. And you're
but
repping yourself.
everything that Activitas showed at that meeting showed pickleball courts all exclusively grouped together for only pickleball.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. They
And that's what-
identified them differently. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what should happen. I mean, the tennis courts should be tennis courts, and the pickleball, and they take up less space, so you can get 6 pickleball courts in the space of the 2 tennis courts. Okay, so my recommendation, that's where I'd like to see it go. And by the way, I saw in the minutes that the committee was, Mary Ann had done a lot of work with Ted on, pickleball and tennis court renovations, and, she sent me all that information, but am I correct? And I think I am, that it really is the rec department's responsibility to sponsor that with our support.
Right.
Is that your understanding?
You mean this what do you want to call $40,000 report? Is that what you mean? Or?
No, well, that is you guys are doing that, but we shouldn't be the lead on renovating the tennis courts, is my point.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay. I just want to make that clear for the committee, because it sounded like the committee wanted to go out and charge straight ahead. And we can charge straight ahead as long as you're sponsoring it and it fits it. You see, the problem is it has to fit in your prioritizing of projects. And that's what the committee has to keep in mind, that while we are open space and rec has to lead on all rec things. Okay, they have to be the sponsor and we can be strong supporters. Okay, but we don't lead recreation things. We lead open space things. We're the only open space designated committee in town. Okay,
Yes.
just for future reference. Okay, Earth Day, I've been holding meetings, Zoom meetings to organize Earth Day. The application will be discussed at the February 15th. I assume it'll be approved, but we'll see. And it's going right along. I'm missing, the last meeting was not well attended. I've got to get a marketing group together to get the promotional calendar set and what we're going to do and what we need to do it. So I will be holding another meeting next week and see if I can get the marketing folks together to get something done there. Wheelwright Park. I don't know if anybody remembers, but Wheelwright Park used to have a rustic fence or a rustic structure at the opening with the big sign, Wheelwright Park, okay? That came down 5 years ago in, remember that big snowstorm we had 4 or 5 years ago? Anyway, it came down. The sign was salvaged, but the rustic trees that, were used to, create the support for it, were not usable anymore. And the town is involved in that's all town property, by the way. So I'm working with the Boy Scouts and Phil Lear specifically to to try and get the town to provide funds to build that, a new canopy kind of thing to hold that sign, so that people know that that's the entrance to Wheelwright Park. Okay, and we all probably ought to have a sign on the Forest Ave end too, which I hadn't really thought of until this moment. So there's a kiosk there that says what it is, but there's no real sign, okay?
I think the Forest Ave has a sign. It's like a big green and brown sign hanging up.
Okay, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, that's,
I haven't
yeah.
noticed, I haven't been down there, I haven't been down Forest Street, so I never really noticed that end.
yeah, that's
But
usually the way
but
I
the
go
main
in.
entrance with the big sign needs to be replaced. How do we do that? Well, we're in, again, this is fiscal 22, and it ends in June 30th, all right? It's not a budgeted item that I know of. So checkbox 1 for how do you get funds. It wasn't included in any budget. So we can go, we can get Phil, and I have Phil working on Phil Lair, who is a scoutmaster. He's also the unofficial patron of Wheelwright Park. He when trees fall down, he goes in and cuts them down, cuts them, clears the trails and things like that. So it keeps it clean and usable for the most part. The Boy Scouts do. So how do we do this? We do this by getting a solid quote with the diagrams of, with the scale, the drawings of what the what the construction is going to be, approved by the DPW, by Brian Joyce. And then we take those plans to the advisory committee. The advisory committee has a reserve fund of $250,000 for items that come up that are town, that are, that everybody agrees should be done, that weren't in the budget. So as soon as Phil gets the quotes and has, and has the, the architecture of it approved by the town, the committee should work, get with the advisory committee, get on their agenda. I think they have a form that you have to fill out asking for the money and all that. And work, have Phil sit down with somebody from the committee and present to the advisory committee and ask for the money. That's how you do it. And, and Phil, I'm happy to help with any of that you'd like. I mean, I don't think I should present to the advisory committee, but I can, help with anything in the background if you want with that. But it's in keeping with our action items about, helping, making access available. One of the access items is telling people where it is. A lot of people don't even know that's the entrance to the park. So that's something that I would like the committee to take on and make happen. And you have to get it done within the next 2 or 3 months, which is not a big deal. I mean, Phil, it's on Phil. If he doesn't get a quote from a contractor that's approved by the town, for the construction, then all bets are off. You can't really go forward. But it's town property, and it's it was put up by the Boy Scouts originally. The town never really paid for it. But to replace it, it's a lot of money. The Boy Scouts don't have any money, so that's what we should do. Okay. Speaking of Wheelwright, there's still we're also. I haven't ever even talked about this, but we've been, Katie Holden, who used to be a member of the committee, has been working with students at the high school to geomap, to get geomap the trails, so that we can have a digital trail and a QR at the kiosk So when you walk up, you can just put your camera up, take a picture of it, scan it, and you'll have a trail map on your phone to walk the trails. That's still going on. It hasn't been completed. It's been going on for 3 years because we keep losing students and, interest and all that. But Sarah Charon, who is on the Cohasset Conservation Trust, it's a public, it's a private committee. They purchase land, for conservation. Sarah Charon is currently managing that with some students trying to get that done. So put that on some agenda somewhere that, we ought to check in on that every once in a while and help to see, figure out how the committee can help to get that done, because that would be a tremendous benefit to all the walkers who walk in Wheelwright. And I'm in there every day, and it's, there's new people in there all the time, especially when it's, in the fall and the spring when it's beautiful. I bump into people all the time that are asking me which way to go. We finally have all the signage up, but people still have no idea where, what's in there and, and how to get there. So I think that's, it's a very worthwhile project. It's brings us, up to, the technology is there. It's inexpensive, and it would be a really neat thing to have. People understand how to, scan the QRs and, there it is on your phone. You can just follow it on your phone and you know where you're going. All right. So that's an unfinished project that I hope somebody keeps track of, or at least checks on it every once in a while to see how it's doing. Okay. That's about all I have for this go around. Has anybody got any questions or the like? No? Well, with that, I'd like you all to think about whether you want to run the committee. Somebody has to run it, and it can be anything. You can meet whatever time and whatever periodic spacing you want to have, once a quarter. Again, the mode of the committee is not urgent. Land things are take a long time, and changing earth is a big deal. So, you got a lot of time. You don't have to meet every month. That was my mode, but the committee can decide what it wants to do. Okay. And again, we'll have Connie joining us next time, and we will be voting to elect officers. I think you should have either, two co's or a chair and a vice chair or something. You have to have a couple of people that can run the meeting. Tom Callahan was the vice chair, and he was more than capable of running the meeting if I wasn't here. But he went off to planning board. So think about it. It's not a heavy lift. It's not a lot of hours in between things. If you've got a good committee, people can have little subcommittees to get things done. It's always better to work with a couple of people to get a project done. And I hope the committee continues and does great things. It's been a pleasure. Well, I'll be here next month. You'll have one more shot at me. Okay, any questions? Anything you want to add? Anybody got any business that they want to bring up?
No.
With that, I have to admit, I have to go watch my Celtics. It's starting to look really good. Anyway, thank you all again for tonight. And Marissa, for this go around, I know we said, wait for me to send the agenda before you send the minutes.
Mhm.
You probably should try to get them out in a couple of weeks after a meeting.
Okay.
Okay, rather than
Sure.
wait. Is that a burden or no?
I usually do them as soon as the meeting's over, so
Yeah,
I don't
I
forget. So I could
I thought you
send
might.
them out tomorrow.
Well, I mean, it doesn't need to be to tomorrow, but because there's a lot of action items that are on there, and it's a reminder to people. So, if you set it out midway between the meetings, whatever the time frame is going to be, that'll remind people that they signed up for something, because we're all busy, and everybody's got stuff they're doing, and everybody forgets. Nobody's perfect. I'm close to it, but not quite.
Yep, I can do that.
All right, that would be great. Thank you all. Have a good night, and I'll get the agenda and everything out for the next meeting. Send any agenda items that you want to talk about to me, and I'll include them in the agenda regardless of whatever it is. Okay? Thanks again.
All right.
Hey, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.